So I don't really know how this works, but today we're gonna be reading a story from a creepypasta called "A Place to Rest." A lone man dragged his feet across the pavement, briefcase pulling his shoulder down as the simmering cracked asphalt stretched into the swaying tall grass of the horizon. His bald head glistened with perspiration, and he reached up and loosened the collar of his now stained white button-up shirt. Barely had the sun risen and already the heat was shifting. Unfortunately, he was far removed from an air conditioner shelter. The only landmarks were the weather-beaten telephone poles lining the road. They stood silhouette against the reddish-pink hue of the dark light, dark sentinels whose long shadow stretched out to gasp at his resolve. "Meet me at dawn," Dalgrave wrote. His heart had sunk when Hal had spoken those words. "Dalgrave, why there?" Hal smirked. "Where? What's the matter, Tom? Scared of a few ghosts?" "I mean, yeah, aren't you? People have gone missing there." "Doesn't mean shit. It's the stretch of an abandoned road in the middle of nowhere. Those disappearances are just drug deals gone bad. Shit like that." Tom looked unconvinced. "Look," Hal sighed. "Do you want my product?" Tom looked at his feet. "Yes." "Okay. I'm the seller, so I picked the spot. I picked Dalgrave. Is that going to be a problem? Because there are others who will pay for what I got." Tom put his hands in his pockets and chewed his lip. He looked into Hall's eyes. They were cold and bottomless. The image of a rat drowning flashed across his mind. "No, no, that'll be fine." The last grin Hall gave him before they parted still stretched behind Tom's eyes. It had looked hungry, despite his reservation. However, he had shown up. But where the hell was Hal? And how much further did he have to walk? He raised his face to the sky and let out a groan that quickly caught in his throat. His briefcase clattered onto the ground. A shaped crouch atop the nearest pole. It was pitch black outline of starless nights against the pink tilted clouds, with powerful arms resting atop bent knees and too long, dark horns curving out from the side of its head. It's obscenely, I can't pronounce this, a large proportion to their career. The entirety of the figure was darkness, save for two stark, bright pinprick for eyes. They shone with a predatory coldness, and Tom was transfixed in their pale, pupilless lights. His feet had already been un unconsciously creeping back before he snapped back to. He cried out, turned and ran the way he had come with new surge of energy. The only that that only gets when they know their life depends on it. He didn't hear any steps behind him. Thank God. He slowed down and tried to regain his breath. Is this thing still going? Yeah. What the fuck was that? a demon. Stories he had came flooding back. They never should have built that road there. His grandmother had told him when he was young, "That field is not ours." "Then whose?" he chuckled. "I mean, nobody lives there." He never forgot the way his grandmother's mouth has tightened into a straight line, and her eyes grew dark. "I wish that was true. There's a reason your mother won't let you play there." He shook his head. "That was not worth it. How could find business elsewhere?" After a few minutes walking, he realized the skies had grown no brighter. It still had the pinkish dawn hue and surreal half-light before the sun is entirely above the horizon. "Surely I should be lighter by now." Up ahead he made out an object laying on the road. He squinted, then felt his blood freeze. It was the briefcase. Tom looked slowly up at the telephone pole nearest to the case and nearly shat himself as those eyes met his own. This time there was no deer in the headlight moment. He turned heel and hauled ass into the tall grass. Green whispered at his arms, his legs, his face. He didn't care. Anything to get away, to hide from that. The rhythm his grandmother had told him echoed in his ears. In the field it is said that there is a man with eyes of dread. Up ahead, the grass began to thin. Had he already made it through the field? Maybe there was a gas station or something, somewhere he could help. He barreled out of the tall grass and onto the road. The briefcase sat mockingly on the ground before him, and the figure no longer roasted above, but stood across from him. It was ungodly tall, at least 7 feet or so. "No," he said frankly, swiveling his head to and fro. The road stretched in both directions, endless and changing. "No, no, no. This isn't possible." Back in the tall grass he ran. He ran and he ran and he ran. You may run, you may hide, but the men will take you inside. Tom burst out of the tall grass and screamed. The figure was right in front of him, towering above it, seized him by the shoulders. It touched, freezing, even though his shirt, his vocal cords strained, but his scream ceased as all the air in his lungs and bodies was sucked out upon contact. He felt all the blood vessel beneath his skin burst, and soon, even though in his eyes, though unfortunately he could still see perfectly fine, he could see the back figures open from face to navel into a vertical mouth, a horrible gant maw lined with obsidian teeth from which slavered several dripping tongues covered in tiny wriggling, almost finger-like appendages groping towards him. The last thing he felt before darkness took him was the saliva on his tongue begin to boil and his bone turning to jelly. Vision returned, not with a start, but slowly. The lens of his eyes took time to focus. Little by little his surroundings came into view. He was perched high, looking out over a field. The tall green grass swayed gracefully in the breeze. Warm pride swelled in his chest. My field, my field. He thought confusedly. He looked down at the wooden beam he crouched on far above the ground. Pitch-black toes curled over the edge. "My field," a choir of voices echoed. They were men and women, old and young. In the men you will find the body dies, but not the mind. He flexed back fingers as ravenous hungers grew within. My field, my land, haunt. The multitude hissed. Feed. Yes. Haunt. He would. They all would. Their family was too small. They could use a few new members from their perch stop, and weather-beaten telephone pole, they could wait and watch, with eyes as cold as they were hungry. The credit goes to Jude First, and the official website and everything will be posted down onto YouTube. Thank you very much for tuning in onto this reading. My name is Jude Lewoski, and I will speak all to you soon.